Alright, and in this video I'll talk about WZ-120, which is a Chinese tier 9 medium tank. So the grind is very long. Generally, tier 9 mediums have the longest grinds given that the amount of costly modules that they have and the fact that it's the last grind before tier 10. You will be playing a lot of games in this tank. So I spent gold on 100% crew master because without crew and with some stock modules this tank would be horrible. I decided that, well, I actually spent 3 XP on the enhanced turret and second best 100mm gun, and I was playing with stock engines, stock tracks, and I was grinding to 120mm gun. The gun that you see is actually 120, and with this gun, this tank plays much better in my opinion. So when you are playing with 100mm gun, it feels like T-54, like Soviet T-54, although it's a weaker version of this tank. And the reason is that you have weaker armor. So when you are up against low tier opponents, it doesn't matter. It handles well. The armor holds. But when you get into tier 10 matches, you kind of you become pretty useless because you can't penetrate anything, and everyone could penetrate you in response. So it just doesn't work. You have to find some low tier opponents to bully, and it still doesn't work well. When you research 120mm gun, which actually I strongly advise you to do as soon as possible, the gameplay changes. You become more like Leopard 1, like Leopard first prototype in the gameplay. So you have Chinese armor is better than German armor for this tank, but you lose gun precision because Leopard first prototype has excellent gun handling, and it could very well work from the long range, and this tank requires you to be pretty close to the enemy. It struggles even at medium ranges. Kind of the edge of this tank, what makes it unique, I should say, is that it has 400 alpha. I think it's the largest at tier 9 amongst all mediums. But the problem is that it could be pretty hard to realize that alpha strike because the gun is rather inaccurate. What you see right now is fully researched and equipped tank, so it has vertical stabilizers, and that's why it's relatively accurate. But it could be still pretty hard to connect shots. So, is this tank good? I don't know. It feels balanced, but personally, I would rather play Soviet T-54 if I want to be brawling, just because of better armor and comparable gun. And if playing with a bigger gun, I would rather prefer being in Leopard first prototype or Centurion 7.1. With Centurion 7.1, you have hash rounds, and hash rounds allow you to do much more damage than this gun is capable of doing. So I don't know. It doesn't feel fun to play actually because there are so many limitations, like rather bad precision, rather bad gun depression. The armor is not great too, just too many weaknesses, and really no edge that makes it unique. So that 400 alpha is arguably what should make it fun, but again, there are so many drawbacks that just don't allow you to fully enjoy this big alpha. So I can't say that I had much fun playing this tank. So how do you play it? Pretty opportunistically, I should say. The best role is of course support. You go with other tanks and you just wait for mistakes from other players and you try to catch them. It works to create kind of diversions, to try again, just try to find opportunities to do damage and go with other tanks. Play classic support role and you should be good. Don't try to snipe with this tank and always be cautious whom you attack, because if you are against low tier opponents you're good, but if you are seeing tier 10 tanks you just run away, try to catch them, to catch their sides and backs, because frontally you just won't be able to do much good to your team. So at this point I tried to push everyone out of the hill. Now they're pretty much sitting in the town, which means that I could go around and try to take those side shots, and I should be pretty good at it. That's actually the typical mistake people do. I kind of know people why they don't learn that this location around C area is horrible. That place is open from shots to shots from all directions around, and they still try to get in those buildings, and people annihilate them from various angles. So it's a pretty bad position. Fortunately, I was able to connect shots at T-49 running away, so I haven't killed him. I probably won't be able to chase him effectively. So high explosive works well on this tank. Unfortunately, again, though I was very well hidden, Borsig still was able to connect his shot, because I probably was complete paper to his gun. Well, arguably it has excellent gun, but still, I mean, I was behind that small hill, and there should be a good chance for me to bounce his shell, and he was still able to damage me. So what you see is basically how you should be playing this tank. Just try to move around, get to the side, to the back of enemy tanks, look for opportunities. Don't try to be at the front, and you should be good. Sometimes it works when you have awful team which does mistakes, like this one. They were sitting in one area and they had to turn their guns in different directions, so I was able to catch them. But if you have a good team which spreads around the map and plays well, you would be struggling to get them, because it would be very hard to find those opportunities, and this tank specifically thrives on opportunities. It can't push the front line, it can't snipe. The gameplay, I don't know, personally I think that the gameplay is kind of dumb, because you have to get close and trade shots. With 400 alpha you can do this, but again, I'd rather prefer not doing this. So the game you are seeing right now is a bit different. It's against tier 10 opponents, so I'm still trying to get to the hill and I'm trying to stop them, to set up kind of ambush. But what would be interesting in this game is that the game degrades to kind of stalemate, because both teams play rather well, so they get to the hill and they try to dominate the top of that ridge. And what's specifically good about this game is that no one is rushing. They're trying to whittle down the opponents, and when there will be numerical advantage, only after that they will move in. So at this point I understand that my position is not very useful, and since they are playing well, they need some incentive to push around the ridge. So I drop down and I'm starting to flank, because what I want to do is to distract the tank destroyers, to probably catch and kill that T-54. So generally, when I move like this, you see, that big gun is distracted. It goes away from the hill. There will be E4 pointing at me, so it doesn't. Yeah, I take that shell. So it doesn't fight with my team. It turned and it was punished by our tanks. And now I'm fighting against two high-tier tank destroyers and T-54, which means that our team has that firepower advantage on the ridge, and they're able to start pushing and eventually win the game. So I will go down. I believe that tactically I did rather well. Well, actually, personally, I was doing well too, because I was able to kill 2 enemy tanks and I was able to do a lot of damage to the enemy team. So though I kind of yellowed, I still was very useful to my team, but I was doubly useful because I was able to distract them rather well. There were 3 tanks that went down hunting me, which allowed our team to push. So I kind of sacrificed myself, but this basically allowed our team to win. And I believe that tactically this was a very solid move. You can't always do this. You have to have team which you believe in, and I thought that the team is rather good because so far they were playing well. This game is interesting because yeah, you'll see a couple of interesting tanks in this game. So I'm going to support my mediums. I move to the caves. I'm trying to get to those ridges and stay there. Unfortunately, immediately one of our tanks yellows, and he will be dead pretty fast. Yeah. Not very impressive play, by the way. So I'm sitting in those small dunes. I don't know, they're probably dunes, not hills. I don't know. So I feel pretty safe there because I could hide my weaker armor, and I could expose turret, which is arguably a stronger part of this tank. We see tier 8 guns, which are not particularly strong, so I probably would be able to use my turret to bounce them. I see that there is one AMX which is holding the line, so I'm going to remove this one. You see, as I struggle with gun depression. This tank has horrible gun depression, so I had to fully expose and kind of YOLO to get to this tank, but I believe that was a very important kill. Now I'm shooting at the top of Super Pershing, and at this range the gun is precise enough to be able to hit it. Unfortunately, their team is pushing the caves, and they would be able to get into that location. I'm still hesitant what to do. I'm trying to help my light tank. He probably stayed there for too long. I'm not sure if it was a mistake for me to disengage at this point, but I thought that there will be 2 versus 1. And actually the opportunity that I saw is that IMX, he runs around, and his idea is to probably harass us from the distance. And I also don't know where the last enemy tank is. There is 4th. I know that IMX is a good player, so it probably would be beneficial for our team to remove this gun from the game. He misses, and he's one shot for me. So I don't want to risk it, and I want to get close and just derp him in the face to make sure that I kill him there. I'm still unable to do this, so I'm taking way too much damage. But the point was to remove this tank from the game, so he won't be flanking and he won't be pincering the remaining tanks on our team. And now there are 3 versus 1. We are killing T-34, but what's going on with the last threat tank. And it turns out that it was a very bad player which literally went to the town, and he was just hiding behind some building there. So yeah, I kind of feel sorry for their team because they were pretty unlucky. If only that tank went to the caves, and he would be helping his teammates, they probably could have won this game because it's full health and it's just sitting back. But anyway, so WZ-120, my impressions. I don't have Ace Mastery Badge, I would be hunting for it, but this tank is not something which I enjoy, specifically because there are just so many inconveniences with this tank. No gun depression, rather long reload, imprecise gun, the armor is not great, it's kind of average, it's not fun to play. It promotes kind of dumb gameplay where you have to move in and kind of YOLO and trade shots, so I don't know, it's probably is good for new players, but I don't like it.